everyone, and welcome back to the Lead, Manage, and Thrive podcast, the show where we turn smart strategy into real enterprise value. I'm Joe Carter, founder of the Twin Flame Group and partner with the franchise consulting company. I help growth stage entrepreneurs escape the hustle trap and build companies that buyers fight over. I've been on both sides of the table, an owner, an advisor, and a private equity due diligence master. And I can tell you that scaling is one thing, but scaling with transferable value, that's completely different. Today's guest proves that you don't need funding rounds or flashy press to build a global reach in real systems. Aanchal is the founder of Brainworks and caseprep.co. So from helping startup clients in over 32 countries to reshaping how candidates prep for consulting roles, she's built 2 different brands with one clear thought line: Systemized growth. So if you're a founder that's stuck in the weeds or a consultant that's trying to grow beyond referrals, this conversation is for you. Do you want to give a shout out to our sponsor? This episode is brought to you by the Twin Flame Group, where we help founders turn revenue into transferable value. Feel free to grab our strategic growth blueprint. Download it now at twinflametx.com. But let's jump right into it. First and foremost, Aanchal, thank you so much for being on today.
Thanks, Joe, and thanks for having me over and for such a beautiful introduction to myself.
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
All right. Well, let's jump right into it. What was it that inspired you to launch Brainworks, and how did you land those first few clients?
So it was actually a result of my work at Bain & Company. I was working there for several years as a senior project manager. And of course, when you work with a large firm like Bain & Company, it was more about working with the Fortune 500 companies and the largest of clients. There's a lot of strategy work we recommend, and then we do not know what exactly the company finally did with that. So that was kind of the inspiration to, kind of launch Brainworks. The reason was, one, there is nobody who is catering to the startups or the small and medium-sized businesses. Second, of course, we can give strategy, we can give advice, but who's doing that? So really following through and making sure that, it is getting done and it is actually creating the impact that we want to create. Those were the 2 things or 2 gaps that we wanted to plug with Brainworks, and that is exactly what we focused on when we started, and then of course even till now that's our rule.
I absolutely love that. What you said hits home for a lot of founders, myself included. Early traction isn't luck. It's usually clarity plus a little bit of grit, a little bit of effort, right? So I love what you said there. I may be off slightly on my numbers, so apologies if I am, but from what I understand, you have now scaled to north of 110 clients in 32 different countries. That's humongous growth. What drove that kind of global reach?
So, a lot. Of course, it all depends on the first client that you got. The first client that we got was for a very small project, a research and writing project in South Korea. And then, we got one big client, which was like a university in the US who wanted to scale, and that wanted more sales for them. And from there, it was only word of mouth, reaching out through emails, through LinkedIn, through several other platforms. And there was no looking back. Of course, that was not the kind of growth we ever envisioned when we started. It was more like a side hustle, and my group on WhatsApp with my partners still is called Side Hustle, because that's what we thought, that it's going to fund our other business ideas. But then we loved what we were doing and what we finally created, and of course with the kind of impact that we were creating, we were just loving it.
I love it. And I see that again and again. When your offer is systemized and your team is aligned, geography stops becoming a barrier. So kudos to you for that global reach. That's amazing. When you build strategies for startups, how do you ensure that they don't just stay on the whiteboard, but they actually get out there and get implemented?
A very cool question, actually. One thing that people generally, you will see 90% professionals not following, is that they would they would create something big and impactful, but they do not see whether it fits or not. A shoe can be beautiful, but it does not help me if it doesn't fit me. that rule kind of applies here, that when we are creating strategies at Brainworks, we always work with the founder to collaborate, to get a lot of information from them. There are a lot of online sessions. I will give a particular example where I was working with a university in Ohio, and they were scaling from a 4-member team to a 20-member team. They did not know how to manage the scale, because there were people getting onboarded. No, there was one person who was training everybody, but was also taking care of their own stuff. So I talked to all of those 20 people, over different, over several days, over different conversations, just to understand what are they doing, what is the exact problem that they're facing. And on the basis of that, we created the strategy as well as like the entire kind of like operational system for them to really be able to scale efficiently. So when we are creating strategies, it is just very, very important to understand the people who you're creating it for. So, I mean, if you're creating a system for somebody whose native language is not English, let's say it's German, you have to understand the kind of issues that they'll face once you create that strategy. That kind of cultural issues are also there. So just understanding your client, I think, is the basic.
I love that. And that's, in my opinion, the real difference between strategy and value is execution. And that's more often than not, we're like 90-ish% of founders stall out. They got a great strategy, but the ability for them to get out there and execute it is a completely different thing. So your team helps you bridge that gap. That's fantastic. High touch consulting generally means that there's a growth cap. How did you solve for scale?
So honestly, I did not. We have a handful of clients, and we really focus on delivering impact for them. So it's not like several short, small projects. It's like big clients, making sure, like big clients in terms of the number of projects that we do with the same client. We try to maintain long-term relationships so that, if we've seen somebody grow from 2020 till now, it's very fulfilling professionally as well as personally. Of course, these are all high-touch clients. And I guess we just never chased scale because this is more fulfilling than scale could be, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. I say it all the time. Revenue doesn't necessarily mean value. It means repeatability. And if you can deliver to your customers and repeat that to the next client and the next client, then you're giving real world examples of how to scale without trying to self-scale. So amazing job there. Managing a 35 plus team that you have across various different time zones and stuff. I've done that before. That is no joke. What are some of the internal systems or cadences that you use to keep the team running and being efficient?
So it's actually funny. When we started, we did not have any portfolio. We did not have any clients, but we created systems before hiring anybody, and it was very funny. It was also kind of we were questioning ourselves whether we are doing the right thing or not. We don't have anything on ground, and we are creating systems for people who we are going to hire, where we do not even have the work to get them to deliver. So but we created systems on we created the entire process that we will follow after a person is onboarded. We created a 10-day training, which we called as hit the ground running, and it was super successful. Although we never planned for it to be successful among students, but it was. And then there were project management tool that we built in house, and payout trackers, a lot of such very small management tools that we created in-house in a very lean manner because we were self-funded. So, but that really helped. And that is because of that, we got that confidence that even for our clients who are generally startups and they're struggling to scale because of people issues, it's just always better to have systems in place.
100% agree with you. Systems creating clarity. Clarity creates the capability for rhythm and accountability, and that would be talent all day long. So great job to you and your team for solving those in a very lean manner so that when you do onboard and train and then ultimately hold accountable your team, they're able to deliver the results that you want in a consistent fashion to your clients. You bootstrapped this. You said it yourself, like you self-funded. There's no venture capitalism. There's no private equity backing. So what's your take on funding from external sources versus self-funding from like a debate perspective?
So I guess Brainworks was never a startup that required funds, and that's why we never chased them. But if you ask for my view, it's just over the years, what we've seen is that as long as you're funding something on your own, you're more frugal, you're lean, you're value driven. Once you get funding from external sources, it kind of hurts less when you, when you lose it or when you burn cash. That's why it's my personal opinion that at least for first few years, founders should definitely build whatever they can on their own funds so that they're actually bringing something to the world that will deliver value instead of, chasing fame as well as money, and then not really living up to the standards that you first set up for yourself. It's just better to build something that you're really passionate about, and then raise funds to scale.
I love that, and I couldn't agree more. Raising capital adds fuel, but only if the engine is already working. And so you built the engine first, and that's exceptionally rare for a lot of people out there. So I give kudos to you and your team for that. What is the common mistake that you see with your clients on those startup founders that they make when they bring in outside consultants, potentially?
Um, One of them is going after a brand, because they're ready to pay higher for a brand. And, brands have, of course, I mean, the big companies, they do act like cookie cutters because, like you said, if there is scale, if there is, these companies, of course, they need to maintain their financials. And so for that kind of scale, they have to kind of at least have 80% of the solution already made for all of their clients. And that just does not fit in startup clients. For startups, makes no sense for them because it's a messy kind of structure. One person is kind of managing the business, bringing the business, also delivering on the business, and then you try to bring in a consultant who would solve it for you, like he would solve it for a big company. Makes no sense. So I think that's the only mistake that I don't know about others.
I agree with that, and I've definitely seen that myself. Vast majority of the time, especially startup founders, they want some advice, but in reality, what they actually need is structure. So you have to nail in the head in terms of what buyers will also penalize later on when that is no longer a startup and it's an effective company. If you just took advice but didn't create structure in the beginning, you're probably creating chaos later. That lack of execution muscle is something that generally needs some assistance. So definitely in the early stage founder setting. Could you possibly share a client win with us that really captures what Brainworks impacts?
So I can talk about a few here. One of them was with the largest FMCG company, and we built their predictive pricing model for them for their entire Africa business. And that was one of the largest impact projects. Then we've also worked with some, I cannot name the client, a company which is into printing and, delivering, customized material online. And we created the entire strategy for introducing a new line of business. So these are some of the large clients, and some of the small ones have been, which started with 3 or 4 member team, and then we've seen them grow to 20, 25 members, doing great in business. So that's the kind of impact that I've loved to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to see it as well. Predictive pricing model obviously helps to drive and ensure your margins are consistent. Creating new revenue streams is always something, especially in a startup stage, founders need assistance with. And then in a very early stage, helping with team member growth and development is always a very critical need in those early years. So fantastic job to you and your team. What does the onboarding process look like? If a new client came to you and said, I need help with XYZ, how do you help create momentum early?
One of the first things that we do is like have a call with them. A lot of times it is just an email exchange, and a lot of clients want to move forward just starting with the work. Instead, we generally advise that let's get on a call, let's try to understand each other so that we really understand each other, we really understand the kind of work that will be delivered, and that really helps because that kind of sets the expectations right. And so that's one of the things which works the best. And then the second step is always having a project plan. Just send, even if it is said out in the open in the email or over a call, it's just very important to document what exactly is your scope of work and what you're trying to achieve so that it's absolutely clear, and there's it helps build trust on both the sides.
100%. You're speaking my language now. So that was virtually verbatim out of one of my books. You got to have clear goals, measurable milestones, specific actions, and accountability. And you helped them to create that very early. So fantastic job there. Where is Brainworks headed next? What's the future look like?
So I guess it's going to move towards AI transformation and creating AI tools for clients. Because, of course, there are certain clients who've been doing things the old school way, but now the future lies in AI. So we are also focusing on projects which require AI transformation. One of the most recent ones was an 18-member HR agency in the US. Downsizing to 3 people because they wanted their entire process to be automated. And this was a 60-year-old man who asked for it. It was, it was very inspiring that at that age, he's thinking about really just automating the entire business. And we did that for them. And that was kind of also our way of learning AI in so much depth that now we try to kind of help our clients augment their operations and strategy with, including AI as much as possible.
100%. AI is here to stay. Fight against it if you want to, but it's probably not going to work out very well. But leveraging it in the correct way is certainly something that a lot of early stage entrepreneurs need help with, that growth with direction. The signal that the business is being built on strategy, not necessarily AI. Pivoting slightly over to your other organization, caseprep.co, that's a completely different animal, like a different structure. So why did you create that particular company?
So, like you said, of course, there has to be something which is repeatable, which is, which can create value, which can bring income without any, extra effort. But of course, that is where caseprep.co fits. But of course, the reason for building that was that we were working with consultants, like a lot of aspiring consultants who joined Brainworks as like their stepping stone into big consulting firms or, into starting on their own. And we could see that there is this, if we provide an interview preparation tool, which is specifically like consulting cases, because that's like the most coveted role as well as like the most frightening of interviews, where you're presented with a business case, like just on face to face, and you were supposed to walk your interviewer through your thinking process and also come to a solution, and then everything needs to make sense. You have to make calculations on the go. You have to sound professional. You do not have to be nervous. Of course, I mean, based on what I had experienced when I interviewed for a consulting role, to seeing other students doing that, we thought that why not then create a tool where, like, we really thought that there was a need for a preparation tool, which did not require scheduling time with experts or, paying $100, $250 for an hour and getting feedback from them, which was like, of course, I mean, if I am taking interview, I will give the feedback in my words. But with Case Prep doing it, it's more like very standard, measurable feedback that you can actually work upon. So it just fit in in the consulting environment.
I love the fact that you saw a gap, but more importantly, you moved on the gap and created a solution. That's what separates founders from dreamers. Dreamers can see something but never go actually achieve it. You did just that. Awesome, John, and I 100% agree that case studies is one of the most effective ways to interview an individual, as well as to showcase your consulting skills, is to be able to take a case study and turn it around utilizing your logic. It showcases you at a much, much higher premium level than a traditional consultant. So I love that you're helping people prep for that. How has that market, that consulting prep market, evolved over the last few years?
So it has grown intense. The reason is that a lot more people are now aware of consulting jobs and they want to get into consulting roles, and it has also opened up to several of the tier 2 B schools as well, because there are large consulting firms, but then there are also GCCs that they've set up in India. And even in other geographies. So because of that, the entire talent pool has expanded, and so there are a lot more people preparing for cases. And and these are people who have absolutely no idea about consulting case prep, because their colleges haven't done that, their seniors haven't done that, and they do not have colleagues who are already working in consulting roles. So the market size has expanded, and the need itself has expanded as well.
I agree with you. I've seen the same thing. Markets are shifting fast, and it's definitely shifting in that direction. And people who can adapt to it are ultimately the people that stay ahead. So great job to you and your team for helping people pivot where necessary, adapt where need be, so that they can take advantage of those market shifts. What makes CasePrep.co stand out from other platforms that might offer a similar solution?
So one of the things is that it provides a very real-time on-video experience, which no other platform provides. Any platform, either they provide mentors who you can book time with, but then of course there's scheduling, rescheduling, and then a lot of money that goes into it. And of course, if I'm talking to 3 mentors, that's like $300 or $500 out of my pocket, and I get feedback which I cannot compare across time, like how have I improved. So one is that kind of platforms. The other kind of platforms are utilizing AI, but they are either text-based. I mean, I could be doing the same with ChatGPT, or they are, you say something and then you press, I am done speaking. So it does not feel real. Case prep is like an absolutely real feeling experience, where you really directly talk to a person on video, and they are navigating through the case with you. They challenge you on the cases. They ask you questions. They challenge your assumptions as well as calculations. And at the end, you get a very comprehensive feedback report. Once you've done 5 or 6 cases, you can actually compare your performance over time. So it is actionable. It is something that you can really work upon.
I love that. Differentiation isn't a feature. It's something that's clearly designed around you're doing just that. I love the fact that it's more live versus, like you said, the text-based or even voice-based AI agents that are out there that to the others. That's great. It gets you somewhat of reps, but there's nothing that can replicate a live thing, especially if you're getting indirect, in real moment feedback where you can adjust and learn and get better and then track your progress, as you said. That's fantastic. Great job.
Thank you so much.
What's the ideal user, and what shift would they go through as they progress through your platform?
So an ideal user is somebody who is preparing for a consulting interview. Right now, it's only for consulting, but we plan to expand it to different, all the different roles like IB, product management, and other kinds of financial management roles as well. But right now, anybody who is preparing for consulting and they really want to improve their problem solving, their professionalism, communication, structuring, and they want to know that how would a consultant have solved it, case prep is for them. I mean, you can do 5 or 6 interviews and you'll really see yourself improving, and you'll also see the model answers for several questions, so you'll get a gist of how you're supposed to be performing.
Love it. Love it. You are not just running, but successfully running multiple brands. So, how do you personally stay focused and energized? What keeps you going?
I guess once we see impact, like there are low times like any other business, of course, but what keeps me energized is mostly the impact that is created, a lot of new business, a lot of new business interests from people. That I think, I mean, that's what what is the most attractive thing about this.
Impact, especially client impact, I couldn't agree more, is probably the most rewarding thing of what we do. And it's easy to admire execution, but in my opinion, what you just shared speaks to founder discipline. And my, again, also, in my opinion, that's critical and that's also rare. So congrats to you for that. What would be a leadership lesson that you had to learn the hard way that you would want to share with the audience so potentially they can navigate around that landmine?
Um, One thing about leadership is, I think, um, I think discipline for yourself as well as for the people who are working with you, because as you grow, as you go up the ladder, whether you're in a professional, in an organization or an entrepreneur, life is easier for you, and you can actually, you have more flexibility. But then you have to, unless you have discipline, you do not really grow professionally. So if you really want to, do the best for yourself as well as for your peers and colleagues and subordinates, it is very important to be disciplined in all your in all of your work. Like even if it is work planning, or you're structuring your day on the objective of the week, or having systems in place.
That you had to learn the hard way. If you don't mind kind of starting over on that one.
Okay. So I think the biggest leadership lesson that I learned the hard way was discipline. Um, when I was working with at Bain, a lot of discipline was already there, because it's a part of the institution that you're going to. But once you become an entrepreneur, and of course, even for leaders who have climbed up the ladder, in an organization, staying disciplined is the most important virtue, and that's justice that you must be doing for yourself as well as for anybody who's working with you. So creating plans and sticking to them is, I think, the one of the hardest lessons that I had to learn.
Couldn't agree more. Discipline is one of the most important traits for a founder. And founders grow at the speed of their decisions. If you decide to be disciplined, you will be disciplined. And that story about you says a lot about how you lead your organizations and your team. So kudos to you and the entire organizations that you lead and represent. This was a masterclass. I know at the tail end we had a little bit of a technical goof, so apologies to the audience out there. We'll make sure and get the edited version so that you can see it from beginning to end without any technical goof ups. But this was a masterclass in scaling smart. If you're out there trying to build a business, you really need to look at designing engines that run, and here are two companies that can help you do just that. Also, for our audience out there, if you're ready to shift from side hustle to high value systems, don't miss my live upcoming webinar on January the 29th, the 18 play exit readiness framework. I'm going to give you the free playbook that I use to help founders prepping for sell, scale, or just to reclaim their time. We're going to talk owner independence plays, how to build a business that runs without you being there. Value acceleration plays, the 5 factors that PE firms use to actually elevate value, and exit prep protocols, templates, margin drills, and timelines to get to real offers. It's not theory, it's what we've used with client after client. Most recent client went from 3.4x to 7.2x EBITDA in just 90 days using this playbook, and we're going to give it away for free. The registration will be in the link notes. In addition, we're also going to include the websites and all the social platforms to both Brainworks as well as caseprep.co, so you can reach out to Aanchal and her team when and where you need help to scale from startup to true transferability. Thank you so much for being on. I sincerely appreciate you. And for everybody out there, until next time, let's go build strategically. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.